then they aren't comfortable going into a Saw.
I really like the Black Feather pick here for Tribe just because it's this, well, it's one of the strongest hero laners right now in the game, or lane heroes in the game right now, and it works really well for DNZO since it allows them to dive in with T-Tigers if they go for a similar composition as last game in terms of the strategy. And with the Alpha coming up, that's definitely going to be the strategy for them. It's going to be all about initiating and forcing team fights and finishing those team fights.
This is a scary amount of dive coming out from Tribe. You do not want to pick a squishy backliner right here for Rogue. Or maybe they do. Maybe they believe that they can take this one on. I'm curious to see what Rogue will actually pick up to go into a team that wants to brawl as heavily as Tribe do.
I feel like you need to get something else that can brawl right there with them. You know, things like maybe a Rona could be an option, because if you try and pick a squishy backline, if you try and pick even something like a Celeste, they're able to dive onto you so hard that you're not going to be able to have that kiting option. They have multiple gap closers on both of these heroes. They have the slow coming out from Blackfeather. They have the dive through from both Blackfeather and Alpha. So the Rona coming through, I think, is a very smart pick, because you need to be able to match them with an all-in, especially if you can get an all-in composition that doesn't need to scale during the fight. Obviously, the Rona would like to, but she doesn't necessarily need to, whereas the Blackfeather and Alpha need to scale up their damage a little bit.
I will disagree with you there. The obvious way, or the obvious choice for Rogue, was to go for a brawling composition as well with the Rona and Cruel, but in my opinion, Tribe already has the best brawling heroes in the game right now in 2.9 with the Blackfeather and the Alpha. In my opinion, it would have worked better for them had they gone for something like a Vox and a Sky to counter the composition coming up from Tribe by kiting and staying away instead.
I don't think that they would have been able to kite it, though, because again, even if you use your dash as a Vox, there's still gap closers available for the side of Tribe. So I do definitely think that this is their best option. I do agree that I think Tribe has the better brawling composition, but I think the only way you can even try and match it is with brawling of your own.
All right, so brawlers across the board here. How is this one going to be playing out? Obviously, no Rhyme in the jungle here. Who's going to be the ones being aggressive to start this game?
I mean, the aggression probably going to come out from the side of Rogue just because they have the Cruel. They're going to try to shut down the Alpha early on because the dueling does go in the side of or in the favor of Cruel, but as the game goes on, Lance will come into effect very heavily in team fights.
This is one of those games that could be decided within the first 5 minutes because both teams are going to try and be very aggressive, and whoever loses out that early game is just going to be in such a huge hole that they may not be able to come back.
All right, this could be a messy way to end our semi-final right now. It's one apiece between these two teams. Hashtag Vainglory 8. Let us know who you think will take this one. It's time to head into game number 3 and find out who will be moving on into our finals.
Thank you very much, guys. Once again, game number 3. You aren't half wrong, Munch. Actually, not wrong whatsoever. Rogue versus Tribe. We'll see who wants to go towards the finals, because it's one apiece source right now. One apiece. And I got to say, Tribe composition looks extremely scary. If they lock someone down, they're going to get instantly deleted.
This is going to be a bloody game. Like, the sheer amount of brawling and skirmishing that should happen between these two compositions is off the charts. There are no ranged characters in this game. There's a single ranged hero on the full. There will be very little kiting. There will be very little poking. This is going to be just who dives more effectively and who's willing to take the more insane dives.
You could say there's going to be a lot of red mist. Going to be a lot of protocols being terminated, just like T-Tigers is going to jump onto Sibs right now. He's going to get a Vanguard though for a small shield. Hammy trying to get out of the fight, use the interplay to get a bit of distance. The NDO go really low on the Blackfeather, has to pop the flask for the moment just to keep alive, but does manage to find the execute onto Hammy. Try find first blood, but they're not done just yet. Evo is only level 1, remember. He's trying to get the Vanguard over the wall, but T-Tigers is going to follow him, and Tribe, they're just going to chase him down. I think he's given up hope right now. There's the Githian wall from Max Green, and Tribe find 2 on the board already.
So as I was watching this draft, just following along, I'm like, okay, they gave them Blackfeather. If they don't ban Alpha, I feel like Tribe is going to take Alpha, and it just allows them to pick whatever fight they want. You're worried about that early game value out of the Alpha. The NZO is now on Blackfeather. We're just starting to see that Blackfeather is the most dangerous carry. It's incredibly versatile. You can flex it in and out of the lane. It can go weapon power. It can go CP, and assuming that Dienzio goes into a poison shiv, Hammy's gonna run into a lot of trouble. I'd like them using this minion candy in the lane, put up as much pressure as they can, give Sibs as much time to farm, and maybe they actually get that first turret value, because we saw that Rogue can definitely pressure up in the lanes. It's dangerous with how much initial burst damage comes out from this team, and how much playmaking potential there is from the side of Tribe, because they have both good CC, they've got good burst, they've got good continuous damage, and you've got Max Green on a Lance. If you want an early game skirmishing captain, Lance is the best you can ask for.
Especially when Max Green is using it as well. It's pretty scary. Max Green, a hell of a captain player. When you give him something with such playmaking potential, you best believe he's going to be landing Impale after Impale and Githium after Githium. DNZO going fairly aggressive on Hammy. Has got the level disadvantage, and our Mortal Wound is ticking, so he can't really get too much sustain from his Book of Eulogies. The Flare will come out to make sure Max Green is still in the brush. And now Sibs coming up against T-Tigers. Let's quickly discuss this matchup as well. Now T-Tigers once again on this alpha pick, and Sibs kind of refusing to let him farm, or at least trying to disrupt his farming path a little bit. Max Green in a little bit of trouble. A smite after the Impale was already used, and Max Green just died inside the scenery.
Yeah, great play from Sibs to put so much pressure onto Max Green off of a rotation. And now the wave is pushed very, very far out. Rogue can kind of stall this for a little bit. There was a minion candy used. So normally the minion candy is there so you could even things out, or so that you can get significant push. And Rogue are able to turn that minion candy used from Tribe on its head and stall the wave out, forcing DNZO to need to back because he isn't getting the sustain off of his Book of Eulogy. And now Tribe are in a little bit of a predicament. They've been forced to slow things down a little bit. They will be able to stall out the wave, but this lets Hammy back for a couple of items, has that lifesteal, has that heavy steal, so the damage might be there that they can take an early engagement before... Actually, no, T-Tigers is about to be 6, so he's about to have that ultimate. I thought they could maybe get him before T-Tigers had that ultimate online, but that window is pretty much closed.
Yeah, that window has been shut firmly now. Draft is now outside, and T-Tigers has got the termination protocol online. However, Sibs is nearing that mark as well. Level 6 on the horizon for him. It's about a camp and a bit, and he will have that from Hell's Heart. Now, do they do what a lot of crawls do? Just sit in the mustache brooks, look for pick-offs on one target? Because, like we mentioned before, this game is going to be it's going to be an incredible bloodbath, because everybody is going to have to be in near melee range to actually go for an engagement. Speaking of an engagement, DNZO does get jumped on in a 2v3, does have to put the flask. The smite's going to come out as well. Max Green's there. Githian Wall does land. Hammy close to the turret, takes one Impale as well. Evo going fairly low, has to back off and hang on a second because Sibs isn't quite done just yet. A fountain does come out to keep him alive, and a Vanguard as well is going to be there, but DNZO just tearing through him. Can he finally get the execute? He can. T-Tigers is going to finally secure that hill into the fray from Hammy to get out of the fray, and Evo is going to get jumped on for the double kill. T-Tigers with 3 on the board.
So I was going to say it's a dangerous prospect for the side of Rogue, because T-Tigers has already got the Aftershock. That one item in the hands of an alpha gives them so much damage. We saw how hard T-Tigers was bursting people throughout that fight. You combine that with just amazing Githian walls coming out from Max Green, and the side of Tribe are able to win that fight, get 2 kills, get the tower, and now they're going to be able to put more pressure into the jungle. First turret is down, they've opened up the map, everything is going in favor of the side of Tribe, and now, you know, it's going to get dangerous as more powerful items come in for those carries. We see that DNZO has gone with the Serpent's Mask, so he won't have the Mortal Wound. They do need to be careful about how they engage on the Hammy. Hammy has that naturally built-in Mortal Wound, and now the side of Tribe doesn't really have the ability to itemize into that effectively. Maybe DNZO goes for it, but it's highly unlikely. So they're really looking for the burst value. They're looking to get DNZO a little bit further into his build, get him that breaking point, and have those stacks build up. Means Hammy is not their target. They're likely going to be trying to kill Sibs as fast as possible, or maybe they feel they can burst Hammy with T-Tigers. I think it depends on which target we see them go for, will kind of tell us how they're looking to take these fights.
Maybe that's one interaction that we're overlooking completely then, because DNZO, if he gets into a long exchange with Rogue, that healing is going to get is going to get cut down, which means Hammy is going to be sitting there just sustaining for days with his own Serpent's Mask and being able to just cut up Dienzio. T-Tiger's in a little brawl, in a little 1v1 with Sibs. A bit annoying that Max Green was going to be interrupting that one. Prime directive over the wall to Hammy. So it's funny to see a 1v1, but anyhow, it's a team game after all. Of course, no matter what your solo queue teammates tell you. Now, Evol is only level 5, so level 6 isn't there. Red missed onto 2 people, and Hammy used that into the fray to get out of the way as well again. Max Green go for the Impale, does end up missing, does use the combat roll to get away, however, didn't go into the long animation because he did hit a minion, get him wall onto Hammy also, but Sibs is already low. He has to back off the fight. Hammy onto 3 members now. Red Mist just cutting and tearing through the members of Tribe. No one's fallen just yet, but another beautiful Impale, and Tribe finally open up the gates. Pearl is down now. Sibs ends up falling over, and now Dienzio charging underneath his turret, trying to find the kill onto Hammy, but the sustain and the Vanguard is a little bit too much for him to cut through for the time being, and Tigers was forced to the turret, but Tribe made that one on the board, and that does mean they're going to get the turret as well.
So we saw them bring down Sibs, and Sibs is their target, and we can tell that by the item that Dienzio has picked up. He picked up an Atlas Pauldron before that fight got underway. He's looking to destroy the attack speed that Sibs is going to be building up, and that on its own, you know, lets us know how they're looking to take these fights. T-Tigers did a good job of bursting in and out of that fight. Again, they're fighting around terrain, which is something you always want as a Lance. You want to have that ability to use Githian Wall and hit people into the sides of the map. And the fact that Tribe was willing to take that, or the way Tribe took that fight, really shows that they're aware of what their composition needs to do. The sustain was good for Hammy. That was a bit of a concern over the course of that fight. The coordination from Tribe needed to be there for them to actually be able to pick off anybody from the side of Rogue. So still definitely a worry, but it seems as if Tribe are aware of it and have decided that they're going to itemize and prioritize other members of Rogue and kind of ignore Hammy as much as humanly possible.
I mean, I'm thinking about some of the big cooldowns that Rogue have available to them to start one of these fights. We've got the From Hell's Heart, we've even got the Gauntlet as well for Evil. That Gauntlet, I'm just going to put this out there, Source. I don't think anybody's actually going to get stunned unless he places it kind of off-center. Everybody's just going to be fighting in the middle of it. I said just a second ago that a lot of these players are just going to want to be up in your face. It's just actually going to create a physical gauntlet for them to fight in. But it does allow Hammy to get those breaking point stacks just stacked up, and that Serpent's Mask is just going to help him with the regen. As later this game goes, I worry for Tribe they're not going to be able to get the sustain on Dienzio like they need to because of that mortal wound. However, they proved us wrong so far. We'll see how that does translate into the next few minutes of the game. Tribe do end up securing a full gold miner, so that's extra gold in their pocket, and that's 5,000 now coming into the 10-minute mark.
I definitely agree that the Gauntlet isn't going to get that, like, the massive value you normally would expect, unless it's a mid-team fight Gauntlet. So don't use it to open things up. Use it about halfway through when Tribe might be retreating, when they're trying to kite and maneuver around the middle of a team fight.
You say kite maneuver, but everybody's on top of each other all over again. There's the Gauntlet, everybody's going to be pinned in place, no one's going to get stunned. I'm telling you right now, Source. Rebit's on 3 people, Hammy's going to go really low, that mortal wound is going to strike very, very soon. Termination Protocol opened up from T-Tigers, does it activate the infinite reboot, but it doesn't matter because Dienzio's already dead, and now Rogue will end up picking up 2 kills off the back of that one. Max Green on the retreat. Rogue, they find an opening, but can they get off anything off the back of this one?
That lacking mortal wound came in. Hammy just sat there and spun and spun and spun. And, you know, maybe it's time for Max Green to pick up the Poison Chip, because I feel like they need it. I feel like it makes their job very difficult, because a Poison Chip is good into the Kroll. It's good into the Rona. They can shut down Sib's sustain, they can shut down Hammy's sustain, but they didn't decide they were going to itemize for it, and now it might be a little bit of fear for the side of Tribe, and they need to rethink how they're willing to take their team fights. Maybe they need to start looking for individual pickoffs. Maybe they want to start, you know, trying to maneuver things around, looking for better positions in the macro game. Maybe they start making quick jungle plays into the enemy jungle, take out that Crystal Sentry, remove that defensive point, and kind of start playing in the jungle instead of up in the lane, where you're pretty much taking straight up team fights. The lane is massive. It is the biggest space, you know, width for width on the map. And when you take fights there, there really is very little that, you know, is going to interrupt those team fights. Take things into the jungle, maybe Tribe slow things down a bit, get Dienzio a little deeper into his build, possibly finish off another damaging item, because he's really only got 2 items. He's itemized some defenses, he's picked up that armor because it did a double weapon power composition for Rogue, and now they're taking another team fight in the middle, and the spin is on.
Yeah, the spin is spinning up. There's a big old Beyblade circle right up in here. If you do remember that from the 90s. If you didn't, you should probably look it up. It's a pretty interesting TV show. Dienzio does manage to kill Kroll already. Sibs is going to fall. Now Evo using the boost to get out of there. And now Hammy's all alone. That long extended team fight they were looking for doesn't quite turn about. And that'll be Dienzio with the double kill. Tribe are now going to open the base.
Yeah, T-Tigers was allowed to dish out all of his damage in that fight. I think that was the real difference there, was in the previous fight, Tigers had already used the core charge to be able to get into the middle of the team fight. That time he had it available to help him dish out damage, and those two things, along with the prime directive, that they actually just bursted straight through the health bars of Rogue, as opposed to before in that other team fight we saw where Hammy just kind of got to spin because the cooldowns were already used for T-Tigers. He had already kind of thrown that damage out the window, and he was waiting on those cooldowns to come back in, and that's where Hammy got all of those stacks built up and was really sustaining very heavily. So Tribe, maybe the burst is where their value comes in. The items are starting to come in for T-Tigers. He's got that Aftershock. He's got the Dragon's Eye. I think when the Broken Myth comes in, Hammy is going to start to be in significant trouble because Dienzio is now getting closer to finishing out all of those items. Dienzio has actually picked up the Crucible, so it's pretty much on him to dictate any of the crowd control coming in. They're kind of put that on his shoulders and said, you're the one that you're the main target, you should feel confident being able to use that, as well as being able to pull them out of the gauntlet if they want to. So everything seems to kind of be on the back of Dienzio when it comes to how these fights are actually being evaluated from the side of Tribe.
Yeah, and one unified item choice they've all seemed to go on with as well is the Atlas Pauldron. There's one on T-Tigers, one on Max Green, and Dienzio. All of them willing to cut Hammy and Sibs' attack speed in half, as they're going to want to be stacking up that breaking point. That's a big choice for them, and again, really does aid their short burst team fights like they want to get into. If Rogue can sustain through that, which they didn't in the last fight, but it will help them. It won't help them at all. They will just be cut in half. Their damage is going to be next to nothing as they can't get their breaking points stacked up, and then it'll be Tribe running all over them. And in fact, now Sibs has got his Atlas Pauldrons online, and even Evo's got his, and I can imagine we might even see 6 of them come out. We are approaching the 15-minute mark here, Source, and Tribe still have a undefinable lead. 34,000 to 27,000, almost a 9,000 gold as it just ticks over. This is going to be a big team fight coming up here, because whoever team wins this one will take the Kraken, and if it's Rogue, they can finally get some points back on the board.
So all the defenses are in Dienzio's hands. He's got War Treads. He's now starting to build what looks like armor penetration, because I agree with you. We're going to see 6 Atlas Pauldrons. Both teams have got heavy attack speed, carries. Both teams feel confident that, being able to drop the attack speed of the enemy team is what's going to win them these fights. And now Dienzio is very tanky. He can stand up in these fights for long periods of time. Basically, it's almost a mirror build between him and Hammy, although he's got the Crucible, Hammy's got the Aegis. But I like the idea of putting the Aegis in the hands of Dienzio, because he's the one who's going to carry you through these team fights in the long run. The safer he feels in his engagements and being able to decide when and where he wants to fight and how aggressive he wants to be is going to allow Tribe to just control when and where they take their fights and how much damage Dienzio takes. But that's a huge stun to T-Tigers.
Massive stun as well coming out from the gauntlet from Evo. He stuns up Dienzio, the key target they want to take down. There comes the Termination Protocol. Here's 3 members, but it does almost next to no damage. That red mist is still going on, and Hammy, he's stacked up to 20 stacks at that breaking point right now. He's dishing out so much damage, but he needs to make it stick. T-Tiger's going to be the first one to go down, with Max Green popping his own boots to get away. Tribe, they have to go on the retreat now as that Kraken is still there.
And Tribe was unable to get through the damage and healing coming out from Hammy. There was a break point. There was a moment where the damage just wasn't close enough for the side of Tribe. Max Green is sticking around, is going to harass them, keep some vision. Maybe they go in for a steal. The members of Rogue are at about half health. There's 30 seconds left on this fountain, so there will be no instant burst of healing for the entirety of the team. Those breaking point stacks were significant in the last fight, and in goes Dienzio. I don't know if he's going to survive this.
Dienzio really wants to go in. Crucible's going to get used to block that Impale. Max Green's going to go very low. Single-digit HP ends up falling. That Kraken is still extremely weak, but Dienzio, he's in a 1v3. He gets taken out by Hammy, who's got 20 breaking point stacks again. You can't stop this man once he keeps on spinning. Kraken's now going to get on the field, and it's going to be in the command of Rogue.
And now Tribe have to rethink everything. They've had fairly strong control over this game. They've had the gold lead. The gold lead is still there, but everybody's pretty close to full build. Yes, T-Tigers can get a little bit more damage, or even a little tankier. I'm not sure which one he ends up going with. He's sitting on a Crystal Infusion. Maybe he ends up picking up the Metal Jacket, and he feels that that'll be enough to let him survive, because he was close to being able to finish off Hammy. Just the T-Tiger's damage is coming in waves. Yes, they're very fast waves. The burst comes out very quickly from the Alpha, but it's not as consistent, and that's some good initial burst. Maybe they can take this team fight.
Some good initial burst, but look at Hammy still just going at it. Double Gauntlet does separate 3 members. Max Green cannot enter the fight right now because he's trapped on one side of the Gauntlet. Everybody's trapped on the other. Dienzio is going to be big, but that's a massive 3-man Githium wall. In fact, double Githium wall for Max Green, but it doesn't matter because T-Tigers has already dropped dead. And now Dienzio trying to deal with that Kraken. It's about 1/4 HP right now, but Sibs and Hammy, they've got the damage, they've got the attack speed. They're going to be able to open up the base, and Tribe now, they're on their last limbs. In fact, both of these teams have only got crystal turrets left in their bank, or in their base at least, not their bank. I don't know why you keep them there, not in a safety deposit box. That's not where you need them. But right, this is a knife's edge right now. Rogue have finally come back into this game, and it's all because Hammy can get these massive red mists off.
And Dienzio has now picked up his bone saw. So the last two fights, I believe, Hammy had that bone saw online. He was shredding through all of the armor that the side of Tribe had built up. Now T-Tigers, he's sitting on a lot of gold, and I think he's debating what do they pick, what does he pick up, what is going to be the answer for him. He's sitting on 1800 gold. He could go into more damage, he could end up going into more defense. He's still sitting on the level 1 boots, so maybe them getting a 3rd War Treads is the answer. No, it's going to be more armor. He needs to survive up against Hammy. I like the idea, I agree with it. He needs to last the damage because he's been really close to finishing off one of the 2 targets. Also, I feel as if Tribe have kind of forgotten how they were winning their team fights before. They need to take Sibs out of the equation. Just bring him down, because then you're only dealing with Hammy, and then you can kind of spread things out and kite. And if you've got enough burst that comes out from T-Tigers, because pretty much everybody can only build one valuable shield item, it's very difficult to itemize into double shield, which gives some value to CP heroes. And for now, Sib seems the most vulnerable target for them to take out. I don't think you can kill Hammy when there's other people putting threat and damage onto your heroes.
Not when he's got a Serpent's Mask. He's just sustaining way too much. And we go back to the point we made about 10 minutes ago. Who gets the Poison Shiv to apply that mortal wound on Hammy? No one on the side of Tribe has actually taken that burden upon themselves and picked up that item because they feel they need more defensive stats or just more damage to actually deal with Sibs and Hammy alike. So Hammy is just free in these fights right now to just sustain and do as much damage as he can possibly do with the max breaking point stacks.
Crazy idea. T-Tigers should pick it up. Just let T-Tigers pick up the Poison Shield. Just do it. All you need it for is the Mortal Wound. That's really the problem you're having, is you can't cut through the healing that Hammy is outputting. You can't cut through the extra healing that Sibs is outputting. You've also got to deal with a fountain coming out from Evil. Like, there's too much keeping Hammy alive. Just do it. Like, T-Tigers, I believe in you. You can buy the Poison Shiv, and you can make this work, because Tribe have played these team fights well. This isn't a matter of one team having a mechanical deficiency over the other. It's just the fact that Tribe can't deal with the raw healing stats, and they're going to try and fight this one more time.
Well, they're going to go for the big brawl again. The gauntlet comes down. In fact, 2 gauntlets come down, but one of them has already disappeared. Dienzio trying to use those wall treads to stay alive for the time being. This is the fights they want, the long, extended ones where they can actually just rip through all the members of Rogue, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Now, Max Green does get a triple Githium wall, but he's just going to be cut up where he stands, and the Crystal Sentry will fall as well. The Tigers and Dienzio couldn't execute Hammy or Sibs, and they end up paying for it.
Yeah, the damage is too much for Rogue, for the side of Tribe. Rogue outputs too much damage for Dienzio to actually build up stacks. And before that Crystal Sentry went down, before they managed to kill Max Green, you could have taken a look at the stacks from both of these weapon power camps. Hammy, 20, Dienzio, 0. He couldn't stay in the fight. He couldn't last very long. He got stunned up by the From Hell's Heart as soon as that first gauntlet went down. He's then not building up stacks, and what stacks he did have are being just removed over time. there isn't an answer back because that initial skill landed. Dienzio was still sitting on his gauntlet, so he did manage to get the gauntlet off. They're playing in such close quarters that you can't really see the From Hell's Heart fire out, and so Dienzio needs to either preemptively he predict it, or he has to be far enough away that he can see that skill. And we know at this point that Sibs is going to hold it up until the right moment in the middle of the team fight. Dienzio needs to find a way to build up stacks, and that means T-Tigers has to create space for him.
Yeah, they're going to have to create space now because that Kraken is marching extremely quickly down the lane. T-Tigers, he's just trying to kill Sibs, but he just cannot make it happen. Dienzio had to disengage there as well because there were so many weakness stacks built up. T-Tigers activates the Termination Protocol. It's going to pop into the Infinite Reboot. Hammy is going very, very low, but that massive Gauntlet will heal him. That massive Fountain will heal him up in the end. That's going to be 2 kills on the board now for Rogue, and now Tribe are just watching their base crumble as well. Rogue are going to be able to kill these Lartu's turrets in time, and they have just taken the series 2-1.
And that team fight was so close. Hammy got solo after the Termination Protocol, but Dienzio was trying to take out Sibs. If the Prime Directive had landed and T-Tigers had been able to follow up on the Sibs, I believe the Termination Protocol probably would have killed him, but great by Rogue to split up the members of Tribe, not allow them to focus one target. And even when it looked like Hammy was actually going to be vulnerable, he wasn't in position to capitalize on it.
What an incredible composition coming out from both teams, and a beautiful reverse sweep coming out from Rogue as well, ending the series 2-1. I mean, that was all off the back of Hammy. 20 break.